Good Saturday morning, everybody. This is Lynn. This is background technique number 2 that I was going to show you quickly this morning. This one won't take very long. Well, you know me, I rattle on, so who knows. Again, this is another very kid-friendly project. It's something fun that you can get your kids involved in making some backgrounds for you so that you can turn them into cards later. And it's a little messy, but it's nothing that you can't clean up. This plastic sheet, it's, I don't know how big it is, 3 by 4, something like that. I got it at Hobby Lobby, and I do like it. I've had to replace it a couple times because it gets so yucky. But a lot of times I just work right on this, and then this cleans up really easy, more so than my desk does. So I just want to take a few minutes and go over these options that you have for the water smooshing backgrounds, okay? The first one is, let me just point out some things that you can use. You can use a variety of any kind of watercolor colors. So I've got just some inexpensive watercolor paints like the kids take to school on their first day. I've got some re-inkers here that are from Stampin' Up, and they'll work fine, as well as my very favorite thing that I just like to use for everything are my Zig markers. And I just grabbed 3 colors of that. I could have taken more. You can use more, but I'm just going to do 3 today. And so we'll start with these watercolors here, and I'll just show you how to do this. And again, guys, some of y'all are going to know this, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to watch this video. That's fine, because again, I don't want to assume that everybody knows how to do that. But basically, this is what it's going to look like without the water splatters. We're going to come back and do that at the end. So it would look something like this. But you don't have to cover the whole page. You can just do a little bit that you would maybe I'll do one of those that way, that you just use as kind of a light background for some flowers or something like that. Or you can do the whole thing and you get a lot of pizzazz out of it, okay? So let's get started. Once again, I've got watercolor paper. Always when you're using water, you want watercolor paper. Nothing else will react with it the same way. Oh, and the other thing is you can use distress oxides with this technique. That's just as easy. In fact, I'll get some out and just show you how I would do that at the end, because a lot of people have these and they don't have Zig markers or something like that. So we'll get out 3 colors of distress oxides. And yeah, that would be good. And I'll show you how I would do that, okay? So first, with the watercolors, I've already spritzed them with some water so they're a little bit wet. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over here and pick up a color. I'll do a little blue, and I'm just going to rub it right here on my mat. And I'm going to clean my brush out a little bit. It's not critical. And we'll do maybe a little teal, like that. And then we'll pick up, let's do some orange since it's a complementary color. Okay. And maybe just a hair of yellow. Okay, so now I've got some colors on my clear mat here, and I'm just going to spritz them down so they're good and wet, and I'm going to lightly spritz my watercolor paper, okay? And maybe I, excuse me, just want this kind of offset. I don't want the whole thing filled up. I'm just going to lay this on here like this, and I'm going to smoosh it. And I rub it around just a little bit to give those colors a chance to kind of touch each other and blend a little bit. And then I'm just going to lift it off. And there we have just a very light but pretty background that I can, once again, put anything up against. And I'm going to give you some ideas on that in just a second. Once again, this cardstock or this watercolor paper has been cut. It's a little bit larger than what I need, so it's not going to matter to me about this, although I could simply take a napkin and just touch that, and it would just pick up a lot of the excess so that it didn't look bad on the end, okay? But a lot of that's just going to go away because it's it's that part of the paper that will be cut off, okay? So we're gonna set this one aside to dry. That's a pretty background. And if I wanted that whole thing covered, I could just dip it in here again. That's not a big deal. In fact, I'll just show you how easy that is. Let's say I want, maybe let's get a little bit more of this yellow combination on it. I would just come up here and smush it again and set it aside. And then I have a little bit more color on the corner, okay? All right, again, this can come up. All right, so we're gonna set that one aside. So let me clean up this little mess and move on to the second way to do this is with zig markers. So I'll make sure my space is cleaned. And these are gonna be probably a little bit lighter, but I'm just gonna color. You can do this with any color watercolor markers. I'm gonna color this onto my plastic mat. And let me just tell you, something that works really well for this, if you don't have a big mat like this, a lot of people have the Tim Holtz platform, which I now have. I just haven't put it out yet. And but before all of this, I just used sheet protectors. When I worked for a company, they were throwing out a whole, not even sheet protectors, I'm sorry, overhead projector sheets, the little clear ones. And our boss was just throwing away packs of hundreds of these things. And I guess because, technology changed and you didn't really use those anymore. So I grabbed them and I used them for a lot of things to do with cards. But I do like mix paints on them a lot too, or colors. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to mist this one down. And again, I'm going to grab my next piece of watercolor paper. And this one is not going to be on the whole card unless I want it to be. So I'm going to put it in here and mush it and lift it. And so you get a really pretty background like that. Guys, I have to tell you a real quick story, just so you know why my nails look like they do. I don't ever paint my nails, ever, because I just don't. But I went to a wedding recently, and my daughter she's very girly, and she wanted to paint my nails. And I'm like, well, I'm getting ready to take a nap. You can paint them while I take a nap. Well, I woke up to a copper color on my nails, and I was not wearing copper color to the wedding, but so I didn't hurt her feelings, I wore it. But my problem with nail polish for me is that it just stains my nails, so my nails just look horrid right now, but it's worth it not to have hurt her feelings. Okay, there's another background, okay? That was simply using some little watercolor markers, and zigs are not the only ones. There's all kinds out there. A lot of people have these Altenew watercolor markers. I have some of those too. That would be a much more vibrant color than the little zigs that I used. Although zigs are very vibrant, and I could have made this more colorful. I just chose not to for this particular background, okay? So that's number 2. I'm going to set that aside and let it dry for a minute. And the next, I am sorry, it's our morning and my throat's all yucky. Next, I'm going to use these refill bottles from Stampin' Up. And you don't have to use much with this because a little dab will go a long way. But for those of you who don't like all the colors that I like, here's some more earthy tones. So I'm just going to put a little bit of brown. I'm sorry. A little bit of crumb cake. My colors are old colors, so. And a little bit of Cool Caribbean. And I'm going to spritz it so that they'll start moving around. And once again, I'm going to lay my cards. And I haven't tried this one yet, so I'm going to hope and pray this works while we're on video doing it. And I'm going to squish it around a little bit. I don't like this one as much because you know why? I put too much water on it. But that's okay. I wasn't sure how it was going to react, so. But it's still going to be a pretty background. I want to put just a little bit more Cool Caribbean. I want a little bit more blue on here. So I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to spritz it once. Okay. Oh, my nails just look horrible. Oh, well. Probably if I wouldn't have told y'all, y'all wouldn't have noticed. But there you go. There's another background that you can do some fun things with. And you can wet this a little bit more to get it to run even more if you want it more blended, and that's fine. So this one really covered more of the background. Like I said, for the other one, I don't typically dry these. I typically set it aside to dry on their own. I like that look better. What you would do with the Distress Oxides, and if I could grab I'll tell you what, that one's, okay, so just so y'all can see what I do. So here's a background. I'm going to use the back of this one because I don't want to get up and make my chair squeak. But look, this is one that I didn't like that I just did it on the back of. So I do, if I don't like something, which this one's fine, but I'll just show you on the back of this one what you can do with Distress Oxides. So Distress Oxides, I just put a little bit down. Again, I'm not the kind that worries too much about them mixing up a little bit, but I know that's not for everybody, so that's okay. These might not be the ones you want the kids to use. You might want to keep them with the watercolors or the markers because you can't really mess them up. Okay, so I'm going to take this one that I've already worked on, and I'm just going to lay it down here, and I'm going to smush it. Okay. And see, that's still just a really pretty background that you could just put flowers and so forth up against, or whatever. You know, guys, y'all know me. I'm the flower girl. But there's so many other fun things out there. So what I want to do now is show you what I do for the water drops on the front. I've got this brush, and I just happen to buy this in a set, and it works just great. But what I do is I just put it in some water, and I tap it on here as much water drops as I want, and it just gives you a different little look. It makes it not quite so solid. This background I can just tell by looking at it that it was done with Distress Oxides, because Distress Oxides just react so differently to the water, and so I can just tell by looking at it, it's kind of a muted look. So to me, that always shows me it's a Distress Oxide. And then I just take my paper towel roll and I just roll it right over it, and you can see where it came off on the paper towel, and it has some dots on there. If you leave the water on just a little longer than I did, it will leave more color variance than what I have here. It didn't take a lot of the color off because I didn't leave it long enough. So I'm going to sprinkle a little bit more on, give it a second, and see if it will take some of that color off so that it'll be more like this one, okay? So let's try that. You don't have to do your paper like this. This is just how I do it. I think I saw somebody on YouTube do that. I was like, that's easy. I'll do that. So there you go. Now you have a little bit of variety in the color. And then what I would do, if I was going to use black accents on this at all, or things, I would probably splatter some black paint on it. So let me just show you one other trick that I have. When I make cards, I generally will, if I'm stamping like a page of flowers and I've got it all on my platform, I'll do 2 or 3 of them, because that way I have them and I don't have to keep cleaning the stamps off. So this is Beautiful Day by Altenew, and so I've cut an extra one of these out, or stamped an extra one, and I'll have that for flowers. And these are some, I guess these are Stampendous or something. And so I've just done extras, and I'll have them anytime that I want to whip out a card, I can do that. And like it's not to make the cards all the same. It's just that you have them already cut out for you. So let's play with this piece for just a minute. So these are just pieces of stuff that I've cut out in the past that some of them I painted, some of them I haven't. Some of them are just die cuts. But I don't throw them away. I just throw them into this little tray, and then I have them when, I want to put a card together. So let's see. This, for example, you can see that this one's already been die cut and it has the little edges on it. I'm going to use this one to start with and just make a card real quick to show you what I would do with this background. So I would mount it on black because y'all know me. I always like my black accents. And let's just throw something together real fast. Here is a couple of die cuts that I already had cut out. So I'll lay those on here like that. Maybe put this one up higher and like that. And then I have lots of words around because a lot of these, when you make them, you make a bunch at a time. So I just have them all cut out and I throw them in a bag, and then I always have these little word sayings. That's why I use them so much, because they're already cut out and they're ready. So I could do something like that, splatter that with a little bit of black paint, and it's a nice card. It was simple. I had it, and I got to have fun and make a background, and that's like my very favorite thing to do, is to make backgrounds. So there it is, folks. I hope that was fun for you, and hopefully quick enough and not too much babbling. I hope you all have a great day. I am making 2 containers of homemade ice cream today. We have friends coming in from South Carolina, and we're just going to have a big day of hot dogs, hamburgers, and homemade ice cream to celebrate the end of the summer. And I hope y'all's day is going to be as good as mine. I'm going to work hard, but homemade ice cream, you can't go wrong. Take care.